All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Thriving Thursday. Again, Thriving Thursday, Thirsty Thursday. Um, Thank you again for joining us. Tonight, we have a wonderful speaker, Mr. Kite Golden. He was on last week, and so we're going to continue that conversation. But before we get into that, I would like to talk to you guys a little bit for anyone that we have that is new to joining our Thriving Thursday, a little bit about First Home Alliance, who we are, the services that we provide, and where we provide those services. And again, if you stay tuned to our conversation, you can hear how you can get in contact with us. So, for those of you who are new, First Home Alliance, we are a HUD approved housing counseling agency established by our president and founder, Mr. Larry J. Laws, in 2002. Where the inception come from, it's always important to talk about that. His mother purchased her first home at the age of 65. And so after serving his country, he decided to serve his community. And that is how the inception of First Home Alliance came about. Now, what is our mission? Our mission is to increase home ownership to low to moderate income family, along with serving our veteran community. What are the services that First Home Alliance provide? We provide pre-purchase counseling as well as education. Pre-purchase counseling, what is that? So pre-purchase counseling, a lot of times when people want to purchase a home, they Google. You go to Google and you might, type in buy a house, and you're going to get some information. But with pre-purchase counseling, an individual is going to get tailored information to their situation. A lot of times our first-time homebuyers class, which we offer every third Saturday in the Northern Virginia area, we kind of really just go over the overview of the home buying process. But the difference between the education and the counseling, again, is tailored towards you, the individual. We're going to assess your situation, take a look at the income, take a look at your credit. We're going to have that candid conversation with you to kind of see, hey, what is it that you, the individual, is trying to do? What's the goal? What's the goal date? And then again, by assessing your finances, we can determine with you, the individual, what's affordable for you and your family. Where are you and your family trying to go? We look at the bigger picture. Once we do all that, First Home Alliance will help you build that team. There is a team that is really necessary in terms of purchasing a property. There's a lot of key individuals, and we help you build that. So that is our pre-purchase counseling as well as education. We also provide loss mitigation services. Loss mitigation, again, foreign language. Charlene, girl, what you talking about? Loss mitigation. I currently own my home, and things is getting a little difficult. You know what I mean? When I purchased the home, I may have been making a certain dollar amount. Life took control, and that dollar amount I'm no longer making. And I am currently in a hardship. And so being in that hardship now, I can't, continue to make my payment. And so with that being said, First Home Alliance acts as an advocate to help you get in a better position in terms of being able to sustain home ownership. And always just keep in mind, our number one goal is to make sure that you, the borrower, do not experience foreclosure. And so we help you get in a better position. And that better position sometimes, guys, may mean liquidation. We will be having a lunch and learn in regards to that mid-March, but I'll be able to give you guys that date at the end of this conversation. And so again, sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean that you, the individual, is going to be able to sustain home ownership. Sometimes it means that you're going to have to liquidate. But the main thing is we want to make sure that we protect the asset, we protect the equity if equity has been acquired, throughout this process. So that is our loss mitigation services. Also offer rental counseling. Rental counseling, what does that entail? We want to talk to the landlord. We want to talk to the property manager. We want to figure out how can we help you, avoid the eviction process. What can we do? And so again, act as an advocate on the renter or the tenant's behalf. Also offer budget counseling, debt and budget management, along with emergency preparedness services. Emergency preparedness, girl, what you talking about again? COVID. COVID took place. It had people, in a situation that they had never experienced before. We found out a lot of people was not ready for what took place, during. They didn't have the income. They didn't have the reserves. And so First Home Alliance, we help you in being prepared for an emergency. A lot of times I like to say that it's not about if, it's about when. And so those are the services that we provide. Now, where do we provide those services? Y'all, we're everywhere. We're located in Virginia, Maryland, as well as the south side of Chicago. But again, that means absolutely nothing. We are everywhere. We're virtual. You know, when COVID took place or kicked off, I think it allowed First Home Alliance to reach individuals that we may not have been able to reach before. And so we're pretty good now when I talk about virtual and being able to provide these services no matter where you're located. We've had clients in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana. It doesn't matter where you're located. If some of the services that I just discussed kind of pique your interest, or not just you, but someone that you know, then you want to stay tuned to the end of this conversation and get that contact information so so you can receive these services as well. All right, Mr. Golden, how you doing?
Man,
How you
doing
doing?
pretty good. Doing pretty good. Sorry about getting on late. I had some technical difficulty, but got it squared away.
Yeah, maybe user error, that type of thing. All right, Mr. Golden, can you introduce yourself to our audience tonight? Let them know a little bit about you.
Yes, my name is Kite Golden. I am a licensed real estate agent. Been in the business for over 25 plus years, going on 26. I'm a licensed broker in Virginia, licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. Um, and I've been serving the community.
Is he aware that you have no audio?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kite.
You can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
No, you're good to go. No, you're good to go.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
just heard somebody
fine.
come in the background say
Right.
you have no
No
audio.
audio, but I can hear
Okay.
you. All right, go
Yep.
ahead.
So been serving the community. I'm very familiar with short sales, very familiar with investment properties, very familiar with residential sale and some commercial. So that's who I am.
All right, and then you stated that you licensed in DC, Maryland, as well as Virginia.
Yes.
All
And in
right.
Virginia, I am associate broker.
Tell us what does that mean, man? What does that mean? I know it means big dog. I feel like that means big dog. But
So being an associate broker is pretty much like having your master's in real estate. But it's also giving you the ability to that if you ever wanted to go off and start your own company, you can start your own real estate firm.
Okay. I kind of want to do before we get into tonight's conversation, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what we discussed last week. And so last week we really talked on our topic or our subject matters about the buyer in the mirror. And I thought that was such a great topic to discuss when we talk about the buyer in the mirror. You want to recap what you feel like you meant with that and where we went with that conversation last week?
Yeah, because so the buyer in the mirror to me was mainly and you're going to hear some of that same talk a little bit tonight. Because they kind of tie in together. It's a great time to buy, but the buyer in the mirror is kind of just doing a self-assessment of yourself to stop making excuses. You know what I'm saying? It starts with you. You know how Michael Jackson came out with that song, The Man in the Mirror? Basically, he was saying like, in order for us to make a change, it has to start with the man in the mirror. So in order for you to make that change to be able to buy, you can have the perfect rate or you can have the perfect situation. You can have the perfect market. You can have the perfect coaching team. First Home Alliance can be in your corner, the perfect realtor. But it starts with you. If you have to look yourself in the mirror and do an assessment to say, hey, I can do this, and it is time for me to buy and purchase a home.
Awesome. That goes great into what we're talking about tonight. And tonight we're talking about, is it a good time to buy? And so let's get into that. When you said about the buyer in the mirror, we know, you and I, Larry, all of our community partners, people in this industry, we know how sometimes we ourselves sabotage ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, we come up with whatever reason that we think is the reason why, I shouldn't necessarily pull on the trigger, or I shouldn't necessarily to make that move. And so before we get into it, is it a good time to buy? What are some of the real candid reasons that you hear? And I'll say some of the things that I hear in terms of why people aren't making that move and pulling the trigger and just going for it.
I just think that people have a misunderstanding of what real estate really is. When you're looking to buy a property first go hand, you're buying it because you want to live in a home, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you're buying it as an investment property or you're an investor, you're buying it so that you can live in. You can make it home. You can have these memories that you can share with your kids or your family, your husband and your loved ones. So that's the first step. The second thing, I think, as like paying the mortgage off over 30 years, having equity, things like that, that's just a dessert that comes with real estate.
Like the icing on the cake, so to speak?
Yes. And to me, it's better to put money into an asset that is yours than to put money into someone else's pocket. Now, I'm saying that with a two-edged sword because I am an investor too. So I love tenants too.
Right.
But I mean, the moral of it is that if, that should be your number one goal is, hey, it's time to buy. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of times people, they hear other people say, oh, I'm waiting for the rates to go down. Well, what does that matter if you're still operating with First Home Alliance, who's going to make sure you stay within your budget mm-hmm. and going to make sure that you can afford that home? What does the rates have to do with anything? You see what I'm saying?
Let's kind of like peel that back.
Okay.
Really, what does the rates have to do with anything?
Yeah. I mean, the rate, long as you're in your budget and you can afford it, the rate shouldn't matter. But people hear so much, I'm waiting for the rates to go down. So they automatically in their mind think that has to be done in order for them to purchase. So that becomes a stumbling block. Now, if it's something where the rates are going to go down because it gives you more buying power, mm-hmm. where like you only approve for like 350, say if the rates go down to maybe 3%, 3.5%, you can go out and buy again. Yeah, go up to 450, 400. Then that's something different. But besides that, if you can afford it, and if the payments you feel comfortable paying, move out and buy. Don't let what you're hearing the person next door or your coworker holler or somebody tell you, oh, you better wait till the rates go down, as a way of stopping you from going out to get that house that you want to make those memories in, that house that you want to be able to share with your family and have people come over and have Thanksgiving dinners and things like that. And also, as you're doing that and as you enjoying that house, you are also building equity in that property.
Right. Okay. Yep. So you said some of the when we talk about buyer in the mirror, and we talked about the fear is what stops people from moving mm-hmm. forward in that purchase. And so one of the myths or one of the things you hear is the rate. And I'm gonna be the devil's advocate. Real quick, because I think we're always taught the higher the rate, the higher the payment, right?
Yes.
And so I do feel like from that standpoint, again, that's why some people kind of hesitate, because what are our rates right now?
Still like 6.5, 6.25.
Something like that, right? Yeah. And so I want to be devil's advocate, but then I also, Larry and I, he shared this conversation or shared this with me as well as my parents. And so Larry, I want to say when he purchased his first home, his rate may have been in double digits. I know for a fact when my parents purchased their first home in 1989, I want to say their interest rate was like 17%. It was really, really high. And I want to say Larry's was double digits too. I know it was high, right? Mm-hmm. And so people will say, hey, the whole fact of the matter is the rate is something that sometimes get people not to buy. And next week, we're going to really dive into that, y'all. We're going to really dive into the whole rate and how that plays a role in the transaction. But real quickly, before we move forward, when we talk about the rates, that's something that people really from you being in this industry as long as you had, close to 25 years, that's one of the things that you hear. What's something else that you hear in terms of the buyer in the mirror and the fear that comes with being the buyer in the mirror and then just saying like, nah, Slim, not right now. I'm just not going to do it.
Just the fear of, not knowing what to do. A lot of buyers.
I ran a stop sign.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's weird here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's I can see why people get ran through stop
I'm sorry.
signs. They get
Go ahead, just 1 second.
45 miles an hour because these stop signs are weird.
I don't know why
Yeah,
we can
ran
hear
one last
someone.
night, too.
You don't have to.
Larry,
Like that.
Yeah.
The intersections don't look right.
I'm sorry. I don't know
you
why.
gotta mute. You gotta
Yeah,
mute.
They
that's
yourself.
don't look like an intersection.
I'm not sure what's going on right now. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So the thing is, I lost train of thought. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Look, I'm up there in age.
No, it's no problem. So listen. So the thing is this. One of the things that I do see people fear is if they can really afford it to pay. Some people just don't have self-discipline, right? So it's always, so this is the thing that I look at. And buying a home can be very, how can I say it? It can be very challenging.
Real talk. We want real talk tonight.
It can be very challenging for a person who don't like change. So people who know how to budget their money, people who know how to budget, take care of their credit, people who know how to, save, those people will buy houses like it ain't nothing. It's easy to do. But someone who can't do that, that's the fear. Mm-hmm. So they need to get with a place like you guys, First Home Alliance, that can sit down with them and come up with a budget plan and say, hey, you got this, you got that, you got this, you got that, you got that coming in. Let's work on these two things over here, like a credit card or something, get that paid off. That way you don't have no debt over here. Then in 4 months, we can go ahead and pursue you buying a house, or 3 months or 2 months. So I think that's one of the fears that people have, is the fact that now they have to pay that amount of money, whether it's a little bit or whether it's more than what they were paying. It's just the fact that they just, in the back of their mind, it's a fear of, what if I lose my job, right? Now, this is the thing I tell people. A bank will work with you more than a landlord will. I'm a landlord. So if you miss that month payment, after the 5th of the month, I'm going down to the courthouse to file. Well, I'm sending you a letter called 5-day pay or quit. And then I'm going down to the courthouse to file for a court date to evict you after 30 days. A bank will work with you, may do a loan modification. A bank will work with you where they may even give you a whole 6 months to a year. You have options that can help you. But even with that, if you had a house for 5 years, 10 years, you can pay the house off. Not pay it off. You can sell it and you have equity in the house and you can move on. But a lot of times people don't look at it like that. They just are very content to what they've been doing, and they think that a landlord is their friend. Landlords care, but it's always going to be a business transaction. It's a business transaction with a bank too, but a bank looks at it like
it's a portfolio.
Yeah, they'd rather have you in the home and stay in the home and pay and have that neighborhood looking good than to actually have that house foreclosed and be, vacant and going through the, the changes of trying to figure out, are you living in the house and stuff like that. They'd rather have you, that's why if you notice with like HUD homes, those type of properties, foreclosure HUD homes, they always have like a 30-day look where investors can't buy for like 30 to 40 days because they want an actual home buyer to purchase that home. Mm-hmm. And if you buy that home and you're not a home buyer to live in that home, you can, you're committing fraud.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some serious ramifications.
Yeah, so a bank will work with you. A mortgage bank will work with you more than a landlord will, Just because the landlord likes you, yeah, because you're paying on time. The landlord likes you probably because you're keeping his house nice and you're not calling about different repairs. But when it comes to you not paying that landlord, that's most landlords are going to say, hey, you know, they may give you a month if they know you will well, but after a while they're going to say, hey, it's time.
Oh, they're going to say, run me my money.
Yeah, it's time for us to figure something out.
Exactly. All right. Going into our conversation tonight, you know, is it a good time to buy? So guys, you heard us kind of recap that whole buyer in the mirror. We really just talked about some of the, I love that you really connected that to Mike, you know, man in the mirror, because it is true. Like, you got to look at yourself and see where you're at. So we want to get into what we want to talk about tonight. And is it a good time to buy? And let's talk. One, is it a good time to buy? And then I want you, you know, Keita, I want to have the conversation why. You know, you're going to give us some reasons why, but then let's really dive into it, peel it back.
So me personally, it's a good time to buy. The reason why I say that is not because I'm a realtor. I say that because if you look at history, if you look at what the market is doing right now, again, it ties back to what we talked about as if you can afford it, meaning if you can pay the monthly payment on it, buy it. You understand what I'm saying? Don't let the rate be the thing that's like, it's not like a Scarlet Letter. You know how there's a movie called Scarlet Letter where the lady had the
right.
Yeah, it's not like that. You're not gonna walk around and everybody gonna know you got this big 6% sitting on your head every day. If you can afford to buy the home, buy it. Why would you let the rate? Because this is my opinion now.
Right.
I don't believe we're gonna see a market where the rates are gonna go down to what the rates were
2020 or 21. So you saying, and I agree with you, but I just want to make sure that I got this right. You saying that 2% and that 2.25%, I will never see that in my lifetime again.
So that market was done because of what COVID did. Because COVID got so out of whack to where they had to make something happen because a lot of people were living in apartments.
Yeah.
A lot of people were closed in. And you know, that COVID, you had to be separated. So they said, you know what? We have to make it so that people can help themselves. Not only did a lot of people buy during COVID time, a lot of people refinance. So a lot of people stayed in their homes. They said, okay, let me go from this 5 or 6% rate. Let me go down to this 2% rate. So now my job is, you know, I'm not going to work, so I'm getting whatever pay, but now I have enough to be able to make it because now I can, you know, pay my mortgage, which is a low mortgage, and I got money left over to do what I need to do for my family. And a lot of people bought because they didn't want to have that tight squeeze when it came to COVID, because some people had to go to work. Some people were nurses, doctors, worked in nursing homes, things like that. So they had to go to work. So they said, look, let me buy. So that way, when I come home, I was hearing stories where doctors and nurses were coming home and actually doctors were like sleeping in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
They were staying in the garage because we didn't know what COVID was.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to try to use the real estate market to help subsidize what COVID was doing to the economy and to the people. But what that did was, not only did it help people stay in their homes that was able to get a low rate, but it helped the prices go up. Prices actually went up when COVID happened.
Okay.
Because everybody started, and then after COVID died down some, everybody flooded the market. So buyers complain about the rate, but buyers are the ones that drives the prices up.
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing,
buyers run to the market.
Greed makes it go up, fear makes it go down. Is that true?
Well, yeah, but it's one of those things when it's less inventory, but you got more buyers, the prices will go up.
So when we talk about that less inventory, how are we looking now? How are we looking today?
We don't have a lot of inventory. We don't have a lot of inventory, but we don't have a lot of buyers either. So because of that, it's balancing it out. You understand what I'm saying?
All right, say that again.
So we don't have a lot of buyers and we don't have a lot of inventory. So because of that, it's kind of balancing it out. You see what I'm saying? So buying now, you can actually get 3% closing costs. You can get your realtor fees paid. You can get some work done to the property if it needs repairs. So those are things that can be done. But when the market was a seller's market, a very aggressive market, sellers wasn't doing that because they didn't have to. They had people writing contracts where they were offering 20, 30, 40, even 50 to 60. And sometimes it was even 80, depends on where it was located, over the list price.
Ooh, child. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's happening. But you know why that's a chain effect? I'm gonna tell you why it's a chain effect. A house listed for $700,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go and I bid on that house and I offer them, I'm gonna use a straight solid number, $100,000 over. So I give you $800,000 for this house. Okay. I buy it for $800,000. Now in that neighborhood that's similar to my house has a comp now for $800,000. So now the neighbor next, say a block over, says, "Oh, this house went for $800,000. My house is bigger than that house, and I got a little more better upgrades. Man, I'll make it $950. Put on the market for $950. Come around, somebody offered them $975, $980. It sells for that. Now that's a comp.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so now that market is set between that 8 and 975 range, or whatever price that house sold for. So then that's how people come up with the comps, and even appraisals use that comp, and that's what happens. So it's the buyers that do it. It's not the sellers. The sellers only go off the data that is shown what the previous house was sold for. That a realtor advises and say, "Hey, this house sold for this price. It's similar to yours, square footage wise, based on the way it looks, based on the work that was done like yours. This is what you probably can sell your house for." That's all it is. But the buyers do that. The buyers run the price.
Right.
You want the house so bad, so why not come into a market that you don't really got to fight with another buyer, that a seller's pretty much kind of willing to give you a little bit
You
more.
got some wiggle room. You got some wiggle room.
Before, yeah, and get the house that you love and like and move forward. And then if the rates does decide to come down to maybe 4.5% or 5%, have your credit straight, make sure you keep your credit good, and you can refinance or do a streamline and get into that lower rate. But I mean, that's just what it is, you know? Yeah.
So going back to that, what I took from what you just said in terms of, our topic tonight is we're just talking about, is it a good time to buy? Like right now you're saying like, hey, me as a buyer, there's a little bit more perks right now for me than let's say last year or the year before, because of the fact where you said how we're even kill right now.
We're at it like so it's not even, it's kind of, yeah, you can say that, because you have the sellers and the buyers kind of like, because you don't have a lot of inventory, but you don't have a lot of buyers. So things are sitting on the market a lot longer. You do have some sellers that are stubborn, that believe their house is worth more than what it is. Some sellers haven't adjusted to the market. Their mindset is still on, I'm in this location and I want this price, and it's just not going to work. But as a buyer, you have that wiggle room that if it makes sense, the seller will go with that offer.
Okay. So again, what I'm gathering from this, and for our audience right here, when we're talking about is it a good time to buy, we'd say if we was writing this on a whiteboard, it's a good time to buy again, because I may get something that I wasn't going to get previously at all.
Yeah, and sellers are, even though they came up with this rule or law, let me say law because it is a law, that the buyer is responsible for paying the realtor fees every deal that I've done with a sellers are still paying it. They're still paying it. We just, as a realtor, have to basically tell our buyer, hey, this is the new rule.
Mm-hmm.
You are responsible to pay me if the seller doesn't pay me. But I'm going to try my best to negotiate with that seller to get my fees covered.
Okay.
And most listing agents, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. They're going to talk to their seller and say, hey, you know, this has been the norm, but the new rule is that you don't have to cover that buyer fees. You can use it as a so it kind of works hand in hand. The seller's using it as a negotiating tool to get the full price or cut back on some closing or maybe work repairs.
Mm-hmm.
And the buyer's kind of using it like, hey, you want this house sold? I'll give you full price, but I need you to cover my realtor fees and maybe give me some closing. So it just works on both sides. But a lot of buyers are fearful of that. And when they hear that, they automatically just tap out. Their mind just is like they go like to a Scooby-Doo type of mindset. You know, they don't want to hear no more because they're just fearful of that. Like,
yeah.
Say this, I'm obligated. And it's sad because I think that the forms that we have, I just had a buyer that I had to spend like 2 hours on the phone talking to him about these fees. And because he just didn't understand, because his friends told him, oh, they never had to pay their realtor no fees. And I said, well, when did they buy? One bought probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and one just bought. I said, yeah, because sellers are paying it. But I would be wrong and be doing you a disservice not to tell you the truth. You are responsible to pay my fees. Will I try to negotiate it? Yes, I will. Will we try to work something out? Yes, we will. But I have to tell you this. And the thing that's crazy is that form is similar to the same buyer broker form that we had a long time ago. And it's still the same thing. Before you take a buyer out to see a house, they're supposed to sign that same form before you take them to see one house. Now, back in the day, realtors would slide that in. Once the contract is written, they would slide that buyer broker agreement in because they knew from the MLS they were getting paid by the seller, and it always had the amount that they were getting paid. Now, because that's not so, you have to put that form into play, and you have to explain that, because if not, you're not doing the right thing by your buyer. So a lot of buyers get scared because of that. But, you know, like I said, it's a great time to buy because it's so much to negotiate when it comes to the transaction. So
Kite. Yes, thank you. Yes. And so, I think just because what you just said there, some of I think real estate agents and sellers too, maybe they was afraid if we disclose this, it may scare the buyer away. So it was just something that was I'm not saying it was misled or anything. They just wasn't informed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it has always been that way, and it's always been negotiable too. And so it's good now that they are educated in that process, and you're doing a great job of letting them know about that. Definitely great. Yeah, and I heard Charlene asked a few minutes ago about the rate. Well, I think I immediately I financed my house that first home a number of times, but the first purchase was at 14%.
I knew it was double digits. I couldn't remember exactly what. I knew it was double.
When I got a interest rate about a year later to 12.5, I was elated. At 12.5. So that was my first refinance to 12.5. And I think the next time I refinanced, it was like 9%. Mm-hmm. And so that was in around 2000. When I paid it off, I think I was paying at least 9% interest when it was paid off. So I refinanced a few times.
But again, let me be devil's advocate. What was that sales price?
Well, the sales price on the time? Well, we're talking about a different market.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what, when you guys, which you're right, these rates aren't that bad. They really aren't. Because if you
they're not bad. But so my thing is, I look at it like, and this is my conspiracy theory. So please don't hold me to the record of this. But
we are.
Okay. Well, I just believe that eventually, from what I saw for the last 25 years, people could buy a house like it was nothing. You could buy a house with your eyes closed. people were buying houses with their eyes closed. I mean, it was so many
Mhm.
programs. It was this, that. You could buy a house today, foreclose. 3 years later, you back in the market buying again. It was just crazy, right? Now, if you notice, it's getting harder and harder to purchase. And what's making it hard to purchase is the actual people of fear of the rates and the price. And that's what's been keeping people out. And and this is what they did that I think that's very slick how they did it. Usually when the real estate market goes down some, rentals will go up, like a little bit, but rent has went sky.
It's out of the market.
I mean, it is crazy high. So
Yes.
now it's like, well, yeah, both of them are balanced now. You got a high market on the buying side, and then you got a high rental market. It didn't used to be like that. Larry, you probably can contest to that.
Yes.
One or other was higher than the other. Now it's like,
yes. Matter of fact, there was a comparison we did probably about 10 years ago, Charlene, where rent versus buy. And so you would do a comparison and basically letting a person know, and probably within a 30-day, a 3-month period, most renters, basically it benefit them within a 90-day period just by setting aside just a little money to help with down payment. Other than that, if you can make your rent payment, you can make your mortgage payment. There's not much of a difference.
Yeah.
But now it's almost the same.
Yeah.
And if you run into a program that will allow you to help you get in, you can get some help with the seller, the buyer, or in the transaction, you get help with that. And I know Charlene asked me a question. She asked me about that sales price, because I think we mentioned that last time, that price that I purchased for that home. Mind you, this was 1985, but I purchased the home at $29,000. And so just don't think about the 29,000. You can round it up to 30,000 or whatever. That's what it cost me. But matter of fact, I was just talking about my budget back then, and I can lay out my budget. I actually used to do budgeting classes on that. I bought with my affordability. My gross income was only about $1,000 a month. That was my gross income. And so I bought a house. My house payment was $330. And so it was nearly just right at a third of my gross income. However, why I got into my budget problem and learned a lot about budgeting is because my net income was $720. That's what I brought home before taxes and all the other deductions. And so with that, I didn't budget that $720 very well, but it taught me how to budget once getting into a definite financial situation, a hardship situation that trying to take care of our young family. But net income at $720, house payment at $330, that was basically about half of my net income. But I made it work, and it was affordable. And so people, you can times that by 5 or 10 or whatever you are now with your present income, but you can make it happen. So so I made $1,000 a month. There's a lot of people make about 5 times as much as that now, $5,000 a month. But then you take a third of that, 30% of that, 33% of that, you can afford to buy a home. You can buy a home at $1,700. If you're paying $1,700 or $2,000 a month for rent, you can pay $2,000 a month for mortgage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you gave us that, Kite. What are some other, I guess, points that you think in terms of why now is a good time to buy? Kite, and then Larry, you want to chime in? What are some other good things and reasons why?
Because home ownership to me is just a better way to go. It's so many benefits from being a homeowner. And the market, like I said, the market that we're in, it's a great market. Because sellers, I see it every day. I do both sides. I list and I also deal with buyers, and I see sellers are willing to give up some things that they wasn't willing to give up before. And a lot of times, again, buyers don't understand if the rates go down, you may have 20 buyers in the market now. If the rates go down, you're going to have 100, 200, 300.
Now, tell me why that's a problem.
Because now you're in competition and everybody's situation is different, right? So if I'm a seller, and I get a buyer that wants to buy and going through some type of program, which is nothing wrong with those programs. I love those programs. But then I get another buyer that is putting down 20%. It's a lot of things that come with that. You know what I'm saying? Stronger financing. I know with 20% down, I'm selling a house now, and the buyer's putting down 20%, and the realtor told me because they're putting down 20%, they had the right to waive their appraisal. So that's a good thing for the seller, you know? So it just, you know, when you have more buyers competing, it makes your chance very hard. And what we try to preach and teach is that, you know, you want to do a home inspection. You know, you want to have a financial contingency in your contract. You want to have an appraisal contingency. Well, if you have a market where you got, if it first was 20 buyers, now you all of a sudden got 300 buyers, you're going to be competing against people that's going to be waiving their appraisal, waiving their home inspection, waiving their finance contingency. And a seller, you know, if it's my expertise to give to a seller or my experience, I'm going to tell a seller like, hey, this contract may be better because you don't have to go through no contingencies. You just got to wait your 2-week or 3-week time period to sell your home. And so they're going to choose that contract over a buyer that may be asking for closing help, maybe having a home inspection contingency or appraisal contingency and finance contingency in the offer. They're not going to go with that contract.
Okay.
Yeah, Shirley, if I could add 3, you know, and there's a lot of different reasons to purchase and whether to purchase now and not delay. And the 3 that I would touch on, number 1 for today, I'm going to say stabilization. You know, stabilizing you, stabilizing your family, stabilizing your housing situation. Because I talk to renters, and I have, just like Kite, I'm an investor and a landlord as well. But every year, annually, you're gonna, you know, more than likely you gotta raise. It's gonna be an increase. It's gonna be the increase because the cost of living, and so you're gonna have that increase, annual that you're gonna put in there for annual increase. And if someone move out, we have to renovate, we have to get the property back up to standards, you know, in reference to recovering things such as your flooring and sometimes doors and frames and things like that. And the money that you have to invest back into that rental to get it back on the market, it may take you another year or so, you know, to actually recap the money that you put back into the property. And so you have to raise the rent basically just to recap the renovations between, you know, to put it back on the market. And so what we call turn it around, we got to turn it around. There's a cost to turn it around.
That's
and
right.
So each time someone is turning around, the price of that rent is going up. And everyone that's out there as a landlord is experiencing the same thing. And so not all of one is just gouging the tenant to pay the highest amount, but you want market rate. And most investors still have a mortgage on that property.
Yeah.
So there's a mortgage have to be paid. There's taxes have to be paid. There's insurance that have to be covered. And so that renter is paying those things for the landlord, which they should be paying for themselves. So stabilizing your financial situation and stabilizing your housing and ownership is a definite advantage to do that. The next I'm going to mention, I reversed the rate. Basically, I think the rates are good. I mean, what are we talking about? 7% at the highest you can find out here? 6.5. I mean, what is a high rate now? What is it? And so I consider the rates to be low. Most of them are below 7%. And so the rates it's a good time to purchase. And so you purchase with your affordability. If it fits within your affordability, you know, whatever that percentile, 30, and fit within your affordability. If you think it's a little high in reference to a mortgage rate, say put a larger down payment and you can move in. And number 3, I'm going to say that it's the pride of ownership, where you actually have something to pass on to the next generation. So our generational wealth definitely will be my number 3 at this time, is that you have something to pass on. And why not go ahead and take the leap?
Yeah. You know what's funny to me, Larry, is people will go get a car with a 15, 16, 20% rate, but then they cry about the house rate. And the car, as soon as you drive off the lot, it loses value completely. You know what I'm saying? But a house is some gain value.
Think about it like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I remember when, people were buying cars, 15, 20%.
Yes. Shirley, I mean, my nephew, which I've brought him up so much that we went out and priced a car. We walked away from it, of course, because now we're getting him a membership into the credit union, which I didn't know. I know he had membership in different things, but no, they offered him a car with a rate, if I'm not mistaken, 24%. And so 24%. And if you calculate that out, he had paid the car almost 40% on top of the purchase price of that car, even at a 5-year term. And so that's 40%. Come on top of the price of the car that you're going to pay back over that time period. No,
I wonder what the mental psyche is, though. Why do people not come? And I'm not going to say they don't complain, because they may complain, but why are individuals easier to get that transportation expense at that dollar amount, but the housing expense is like, whoa, like, wait a minute.
I remember I told you last week, I just think that when like the things Larry said, generational wealth, passing it down, the equity I talked about, because they can't see it, it's like it's just like, some people, they're more got to see it, touch it, feel it. A car is tangible, even though a house is, but a car is like, hey, I can drive it around. I can, hey, my friend told me, nice car. So they think they did something great. People love the car, but the house is something where over time it's going to build the equity. And we advise people not to tap into the equity unless it's a really serious crisis. So to them, it's just like, well, it's just sitting, I can't do nothing with it. I can't touch it. I can't use it. You know what I'm saying? So after a while, their mental, I think, just doesn't see it clearly. I'm just being honest.
And you just touched on it, mental, because, this series, Charlene, originally it's a financial literacy series. It's about teaching people literacy financially. And so individuals, the literacy, there is a gap in reference to what they, one is they want that instant gratification. So we want that endorphin or whatever that. We want to get dopamine. We know, and so when we purchase something, just like eating something good, it make you good for a while, but it may not be good for you, but it's good to you. When you go buy something, you're like, ooh, jumping into a new car and someone, getting a look at you when you go by, that's a great feeling for a lot of people. They want to look good. When they look good, they feel good, and so that's what that's about. Being a house, who get a chance to see your house, and where's the feel of that? We talk about equity, but how long is that going to take me to get that good feeling of equity? Mm-hmm. And so delaying that gratification. Yes, everyone want wealth and riches and all this other. You want that, but it's at a distance to get there. And so we don't want to sacrifice make the sacrifice. And the sacrifice is really time and delaying that gratification. Mm-hmm. So that's what we need to continue, to shout out and let individuals know you can get all those good feelings, sacrifice, and that feeling will come.
Yeah. And I think, like I said at the beginning, Charlene, when you purchase that home, buy that home because you want to have memories. Buy that home because you want to have, more space for your kids or, your family. Buy it because you love it. Don't look, I hear so many times, I want a deal. Well, what is a deal?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, what is a deal? Because everybody wants a deal. Some people want a deal, don't even know what a deal is.
Right.
They're just saying it just to be saying it.
I want a foreclosed house. I want a foreclosed property.
Yeah, foreclosed houses are not the way they used to be. Banks are holding them. Banks are, liquidating them in their own time. Some banks are actually renting them out. So, I mean, it's just not like it used to be. So I just think people mindset, like you said, the mental state just need to be more educated and be more, like I said, the buyer in the mirror. Look yourself in the mirror and stop making up these crazy accusations about what you think the perfect buying world is. and get on ship and say, let me get with
Right.
some experts like First Home Alliance, like me as a realtor, and pick our brains and ask questions. You don't have to obligate to us, but we're here to help.
Yeah.
And then we can give you the education that you need to be able to help you navigate through this type of, market that we're in. I think that's the problem. People just listen to people that don't know. I had a friend tell someone, I think it was a guy, him and his girlfriend were buying, and he told the guy, because the realtor told him, I guess the mortgage was going to be like 28, 100 a month, something like that. And he was like, that ain't true. So then I asked the guy, I said, well, how did your girlfriend buy her house? Oh, she went through the DC Section 8 program. Well, that is true. You see what I'm saying? You told the wrong information. You see what I'm saying? So you got people that don't listen, and they're listening to other people that don't have a clue about real estate, and they're getting the wrong information. And that's why, and all that's doing is prolonging that process to eventually you start to put it off. And then before you know it is, I had 15,000 saved. I just went and bought me a new car. Why'd you buy a new car? Well, I just got tired of driving this car. Well, get tired of renting.
Right.
Get tired of renting. Get tired of paying somebody else's bill.
That part. That part right there. Get fed up with that.
Yeah.
Get tired of renting. That's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, people say the darndest thing. I just bought a new car. I was tired of driving the other one. Well, what was wrong with the other one? Oh, it was fine. It was great. Everything worked. But I just wanted something new.
Yes. You hear that all the time.
But that's like what Larry said, that feeling. They want that feeling. They rather have that feeling over building wealth, over building a generational wealth to leave to their kids or something like that. Because we don't know. I mean, anybody can die tomorrow, and you just don't know, right?
True.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So it's a great way to kind of end the conversation. We talked about the buyer in the mirror. You guys heard some excellent points from Kite, from Larry, in terms of why it's a great time to buy. Next week, we kind of touched a little bit about rates, but I think next week, Kite, you're really diving into rates and stuff next week in our conversation. And so I hope that, individuals could really take away from this and look at themselves in the mirror and ask them questions. Why not me? You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else can do it. Why not me? Larry, I'll throw it to you.
Yes. And so, I want to say thank you. And Kite, I'm gonna throw up this screen here for Kite. And so you guys, if you haven't had a chance to check out his social media, go ahead and do so. Kite have social media there, his page. Let me make sure that it's there. And so check out that. And Kite, go ahead and tell them different ways to find out and track more information you're doing.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at goldenrealty.com. And then you can also reach me by cell phone, 703-587-9079. You can also reach me by my email, which is kitegoldenrealty@gmail.com. I'm always willing to help, always willing to talk. Like I said, this is something that is very, I've taken a passion in this. I love to see home buyers purchase a home, especially first-time home buyers or people that are purchasing their second home. So, give us a call. I mean, we're here to help. Charlene and Larry do a great job of preparing people for the home buying process. And that's one thing I love about you guys is that when when a buyer goes through that process with you guys, they already kind of have an idea of what they want. They kind of have an idea of what they need. And when I meet with the lender, all I have to do is tell the lender, hey, this is what they want to spend monthly. And we automatically know what the purchase price is. And sometimes buyers don't know that because all they do is get approved. And then then the realtor's taking them out to look at houses. And then we write an offer on the house, and then all of a sudden the contract is ratified, and then the lender 3 or 4 days later starts sending over all this paperwork showing that monthly payment, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't pay that."
Whoa.
So and then now we got to void the contract, and then the buyer got to do a home inspection first before you can void the contract, and that that just creates problems where you spent money when you didn't have to. When you can go through First Home Alliance and do a budget plan and know exactly what you can pay monthly, so that way that can be transferred over to the lender, and the lender can automatically say, hey, for that price range that they want to pay, this is the price range that they have to look, and that just makes it a smoother transaction. So,
absolutely.
All right.
Great segue into our upcoming events, Larry.
Yes. All right. Kite, thank you. Yes. And so speaking of that, for you guys that have not attended a first-time homebuyer class, we're talking about the full workshop where you're going to get step-by-step guidelines and guidance through the entire process, from budgeting to credit to meeting with a loan officer, that process, real estate agent, home inspection, also the closing. So we're going to walk you step-by-step through the process. Our next workshop is going to be on the 21st of February. It's going to be at the McCourt Building there in Prince William County. So please continue to check out our website for more upcoming classes as well in person. So we're going to try to do this on a monthly basis. In some months, we'll do more than one in person. And so there's more in-person opportunities coming up. And so also put on your calendars, March the 7th, which is the Nova Expo. The Nova Expo is going to be at Fairfax High School. Check out our website. And you can also go to Northern Virginia Housing Expo.org and also get more information on that. Another item on the clock, and I'm going down the list here, is April the 25th. April the 25th is our Community Appreciation Day. That is going to be at the Veterans Memorial Park. And so I know those things are far out there. And what's more close to us is for you homeowners. I know we have both home purchasers, we have renters, we also have a lot of homeowners that's in our audience, that are in our community. Our homeowners need education as well. We're going to conduct a lunch and learn. This lunch and learn is going to be for homeowners. And we're going to talk to you a lot about things to keep you, educate you, to be aware of situation, to talk to you about your options when you may be struggling in reference to making your mortgage payment, may be faced with foreclosure or default. We're going to talk about short sale. We're going to talk about the short sale process, and we're going to have additional workshops coming up on a monthly basis in the next upcoming months for homeowners. So we're going to start off with short sales. We're going to teach you more about post-purchase and some of those things that you can do to prepare, maybe for transition from home ownership back to renter, or maybe to avoid that foreclosure, that's what we definitely want you to do, to avoid foreclosure. And also, speaking of foreclosure or home ownership, rent or credit, or financial literacy, education or counseling, we want to advise you to come to our website. That's at firsthomealliance.org. And also follow us on social media. Speaking of social media, every Monday morning at 7:15 live yoga with Tippy. We're here also every Thursday at 7 p.m. We look forward to seeing you at both of those times on Monday, and also looking forward to seeing you next Thursday again with Kite Golden. And we're going to dive next week into the rate. We're going to talk a lot about the rate. And of course, it'll be a recap on today in reference to being a good time to buy.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, I want to say thank you for Kite. Thank you, Charlene. And thanks to
you
our
guys for
audience.
having me.
Don't forget to like and share and follow us on social media as well.
All right. Have a good evening.
All right.
Right there. You have a good evening. Bye-bye.